Hi, I'm Lori Grafton, and I'm president of the Moline Kiwanis. On behalf of Kiwanis of Moline, I'd like to welcome you to the annual State of the City address. Moline Kiwanis first came into existence when the city itself was only 72 years old, and it's with pride that I mention that this year we're celebrating our 100th anniversary. It's with that same sense of pride that we're anxious to hear about the State of the City address today. Our speaker, our mayor, first moved here in 1993, and it was here that she raised her children, Joey, Tim, and McLean. Armed with a degree in mechanical engineering, she purchased and operates a machine shop in Rock Island. She was first appointed to the Moline City Council in 2011 and was voted in as mayor in 2017. I'm happy to introduce to you today our Mayor of Moline, Mayor Stephanie Acree.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you to Kiwanis Moline for sponsoring Moline State of the City this year. And also thank you for all the charitable work that you've done in our community. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to come together and talk about what has happened and what we have planned for the future. I'd also like to give a shout out to my own Moline Rotary. They're a partner in sponsorship, and Kiwanis and Rotary go back and forth every year, but we join together to have this conversation, and I'm grateful for it. I want to thank the council because, they put a lot of thought into the policies that come forward. We have a healthy debate. It's respectful, it's concerned, it's thoughtful, and every day I am impressed with the way that they are putting this community ahead of all other interests. They're devoted in their service, and they're thoughtful in their policy. The first ward is represented by Scott Williams. Second Ward Alderman is David Parker. Third Ward Alderman, Mike Wendt. Fourth Ward Alderman is Dick Potter. On the Fifth Ward, we have Sam Moyer. Sixth Ward is represented by Kevin Schoonmaker. Seventh Ward, Michael P. Waldron. And Alderman at Large, Sonia Berg. I'd now like to introduce my friend and fellow litter picker-upper, Reverend Santina Poor. She is the pastor of Hope United Church of Christ on 41st Street in Moline. Reverend Poor will share today's invocation.
Thank you so much for inviting me here to lead this prayer. Let us pray. Holy One, we thank you for all that you have given us in our beautiful community of Moline, and we ask that your presence continues to guide us and our city leaders who are called to serve as stewards of our diverse resources here. Today we gather together in a challenging time, yet we are filled with hope and optimism for what might lie ahead for all of us in Moline. We lift our prayers for safety for all those who are working so hard to keep our community moving forward, to keep us safe at home and around town. We ask your blessings on all those who are serving in so many ways to keep us safe and to keep life moving. We pray especially for those who mourn the losses in their lives, the loved ones who have fallen ill, for those who are challenged financially and economically during this time as well. We pray that our leaders continue to care for all the resources in our community and that they are blessed and challenged and given the gifts of wisdom and strength and grace and mercy in all their decision-making and all the opportunities that lie ahead. For all these things, we lift our prayers to you, you who are with us, you who shine a light in all the darkest places, you who continue to give us hope and fill us with love that is meant to be shared. In your name we pray. Amen.
Now is the first virtual Moline State of the City. We're here today because of a unique circumstance. We're having individual experiences, and some of us have lost our patients. Some of us have lost our livelihoods. Some of us have lost loved ones. Every one of us is going to play a role in the way that we manage this pandemic, and every one of us is going to play a role in our recovery. I brought together today some of our leaders in the community to share not only what has been happening in their organizations, but the strategies and vision that they have for the future. I'd now like to introduce Ben Leschner. He is the Executive Director of the Quad City International Airport. He comes to us with a breadth of expertise that is well needed in this current environment.
We have kind of, in a way, reinvented ourselves over the last 20 years of having previous airport leadership. Coming in now, we have a new leadership team that's focused on kind of enhancing the passenger experience. We have a strategic vision working on airport services and amenities that matter to passengers, but also trying to build a local alliance with the community that we serve for getting the name out that Quad City International Airport is the convenient option for the Quad Cities. Some of the really exciting things we're working on, some of it has been in the media, but really it's the solar energy project is something I'm very proud of, that I know the Commission's also very proud of. We're gonna generate, the goal was over 50% of our footprint, which is we're consuming about $600,000 worth of energy per year. Our goal was to find a renewable local source for that. So solar is what we've focused on. A nice byproduct of that is we'll be able to include covered parking in our short-term lot. The environmental stewardship brings the passenger amenity piece to it. We've brought in some very talented consultants to kind of take a look at not just the Quad Cities, but the Midwest in general, and the service we have right now, and trying to find the right market pairs for what would be successful. If you don't want to add air service just to add air service because it seems like it makes sense, there's a lot of data that goes into it, and I think we saw that several years back with the big push for Washington, D.C. Even though there's maybe great support for it, there's a lot of little things that go into whether it's the timing or the right airport. Everything, when it comes to the airport, it starts local. We had something for local businesses called the Fly Local Alliance, which was a way to remind businesses, say, hey, look at Quad City International Airport. There's a lot of benefits and value to having it be really in your backyard. I think the biggest message I'd want to put out is think fly local. There's a convenience factor to it, but really I get a lot of public feedback of, hey, why don't we have this airline, or why don't we have this service to Cancun or wherever? And a lot of that starts through the grassroots movement of flying local. People making a commitment to, I'm going to fly from my airport. Let's face it, airlines make the decisions of what communities they're going to serve and what markets. They take note of that. If passenger numbers are up and people are traveling through the Quad City International Airport, they're most likely to add more service and likely to destinations that people would want to fly. So it starts with that initial movement and commitment to, hey, I want to fly locally, and I want to be able to identify the values in that. And that's what we're trying to underline through some of our public relations campaigns. There's a lot of benefits to traveling locally out of the Quad City International Airport. Quickly through security, family amenities, reliable and consistent. We've been working with our airline partners quite a bit over the last year on reliability and consistency. That's always a struggle for small communities. We have small, largely 50-seat aircraft that serve our market, and they're kind of all over. They're very productive aircraft for most of the airlines. So if they have one hiccup in their system with a maintenance issue, it slows things off for the rest of the day. So we're trying to focus on that and getting as reliable a service as possible. The most important factor when it comes especially specific to Moline is we're fortunate to have a Moline address, even though we serve all of the Quad Cities. Oftentimes when people come to the Quad Cities, the airport is either their first or last impression, and our goal is to make it a very impressive impression.
I want to thank Ben, as well as his Board of Commissioners, for providing a facility that is safe, efficient, and clean. It's a convenience that we all enjoy in our community and should work hard to support. I'd also like to thank our own Jody Fisk. She serves as the Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners, and she also represents the special interests of Moline effectively on that board. J.D. Schulte has worked for the City of Moline for nearly 30 years. He has served in many different capacities, from administration to Public Works Director. Today, he's going to share with us his thoughts about how Public Works is evolving to better address the needs of today.
In general, in Moline, we celebrate our river. And in the different times of the year, typically in the spring, but as you've seen in most recent years, we can have floods just about any time of year. We have to balance the way we manage that. You know, we want to continue to try and have access to the river and use it for all the positive effects that it brings to Moline, but then we also have to balance the fact that we have a lot of commerce that integrates through Moline and is dependent on us making sure they can get where they need to go in the most efficient way. So we balance that every year. The unique thing that I think we have in Public Works is that we use every single event as a teaching moment, and we look at what we can learn from the different flooding events, because they're all different, and then we try and incorporate different strategies to overcome that in future years. One of the most exciting things I think on the horizon in Public Works, again, has to do with wastewater treatment and how we manage activated sludge. You know, the byproduct of wastewater treatment is there are some solids that come out. We're no different than our neighbors in Rock Island or our neighbors in East Moline, and so I've had some preliminary discussions with our neighbors about maybe some new things on the horizon and different ways that we can use our activated sludge as an environmental enhancement, instead of looking at it as something that maybe has to go into the waste stream to a landfill or something like that. And those talks are early on, but I'm excited that our neighbors want to be a part of that conversation so we could look at some collaboration on how we do this. And I think the region, the whole region, can benefit from this. Well, we're using GPS telemetry on our route vehicles that we have in Public Works, and the technology has been wonderful for capturing data. In Public Works, for instance, the residents out there know that we're coming through and that we're going to do snow removal, and we're going to do our main routes first, and then when we have those cleared, then we're going to move into the residential areas. Well, we are going to advance that technology to the next level now and be able to actually illustrate on an interactive web map, and our residents will be able to see when those plows are out on their routes. They're going to be able to see an indication of when they've spread salt last with a line that's a certain color that'll fade away, as the hours go by. They'll see when they're going to be able to move into residential neighborhoods, and they'll actually be able to watch the trucks with the plow up and the plow down navigate through their routes. So we're excited to bring that in the next snow season to the public. It's going to be a great tool for them to use. The bridge is probably the one thing that crosses every Quad City resident's mind every day at least once. It's whether they're navigating it or whether they're navigating construction because of it. And we've taken that really seriously in Moline. And it's not our project. Obviously, it's a state and federal project, and it's not in our jurisdiction, but it goes through our corporate limits. And so they've been wonderful about partnering with us on our strategies and our input on the best way for people to still make Moline a destination, even though it's a little different getting there than it was in times past.
The City of Moline has really high expectations, and they deserve to have those expectations met. So when our staff and our team are thinking about, what is most important to our residents, and one of the very most important things is that they feel safe, their children are safe, and their businesses are secure. We look to our police department to meet that expectation. I'd now like to welcome Chief Galt to share not only some of his strategies, but his visions to integrate technology in the services that they provide to the community.
I think one thing that we're really looking at is how we can provide the best service, most efficient service, the most professional service to our citizens in our community. By benchmarking our policies and procedures against established criteria, I see the Moline Police Department being well positioned to be a leader in our law enforcement community. I see technology as being the future of law enforcement as we continue to march down the next decade. The Moline Police Department is exploring different avenues of technology to try to make us more efficient, to make us more effective in fighting crime. And I see that role of technology to just continue to increase, and we'll continue to explore those opportunities to not only make us more efficient, but more effective in making our community safer. When crime happens, a Moline police officer is there to hold the hand of a victim and help them through the criminal justice system. That's why we do our job, is to bring justice and bring a resolution to our community members that are affected by either a property crime or, unfortunately, at times a violent crime. And the criminal justice system can be a difficult thing to navigate, and we're looking for ways to continually partner with our community to make those very stressful moments a little bit better. Quad City law enforcement community is a very tight-knit group, and the chiefs of police in our communities, both on the Illinois and the Iowa side, work very well together. In fact, the Moline Police Department for the last 5 years have been partners with East Moline in a crisis containment unit and making sure that we're efficiently deploying specialized resources to tackle crime when necessary. One of the other big partnerships that we have implemented in the Moline Police Department is Handle with Care. Our police officers are out in our community on a daily basis interacting with all of our citizens and guests in our community, and many of them are children that are part of our school system in Moline. The Handle with Care program aims to partner the police department and our school district in identifying children who have been exposed to trauma. Our police officers send an email to the school district and give them a heads up as some of the children in our community have been impacted by trauma. The school district will then be able to implement different proactive features in their school district to assist those children affected by trauma, because we know that trauma poorly impacts physical health and mental and physical well-being of these children. And so it's a great partnership for us to not only help our children, but partner with the school district to make our community better.
Thank you, Chief Galt. Thank you for furthering our relationship with the Moline Valley School District. It is one of the priorities of this City Council to develop and enhance that relationship. The school district and the city's resources need to be pooled to meet our common interests. The investments that we make in our youngest residents are the most important investments we can make. I'd now like to introduce Rachel Savage. She's the superintendent of the Moline Valley School District.
I am just about finishing up my first year as superintendent here for the Moline Valley School District. I am originally from Dubuque, Iowa, so certainly familiar with the Midwest area, and most recently served in Waterloo, Iowa for Waterloo Community School District. Because we have just one high school, certainly investing at the high school level is something that every student in our district can benefit from. We have the Bartlett Performing Arts Center, which is also located at Moline High School, and that has been just a gorgeous facility, another community effort to bring together a space to highlight the fine arts talents of our students. I'd like to highlight the Moline High School PE facility. You can see if you drive by the structure of the field house has been erected. The concrete has been poured for the weight room and the wrestling room, and it's really, really exciting. It's going to be a premier facility that I think will be a shining light in all of the Quad Cities. Some of the other projects that we've been using are certainly to upgrade the HVAC at Moline High School. We've certainly been hearing about air conditioning needs for decades, I'm certain, and so we are about in the middle of that project as well, which has been significantly funded by the 1% sales tax. So a complete new HVAC upgrade for that building is something that will benefit students for 100 years, hopefully. We certainly try to get the word out when we have exciting things happening in our schools, whether it be an open house for the CNC manufacturing lab, whether it be a beautiful quality professional performance in our Bartlett Performing Arts Center. Certainly Wharton Field houses so many fantastic athletic events. So when our community members come out and support our students, it's a small way that kids can feel their support, and those coaches and those choir directors and band directors and apprenticeship coordinators can really feel the love and know that what we're doing is valued in this community. So anything that folks can do to continue to support us in that way is very well received. We know that our students have choices when they graduate from Moline High School, and we want our students to be prepared for whatever choices they make, whether it be college or university, whether it be a community college, post-secondary education. We certainly have students that get involved with our military and certainly go into industry. And we know that strengthening the career and technical education skills of our students is something that will pay dividends in our community for many years to come. We're looking to increase apprenticeships in the area of welding and would really love to be able to expand our on-the-job training and our CTE training for our students in the areas of early childhood and the healthcare field, and certainly culinary arts is one that we receive a lot of requests for. So making sure that we are exposing our students to as many different opportunities as possible, but not just exposing them, but allowing them to have the tools and the skills to be able to be career ready, and if that's the choice that they make right out of high school. Regardless of the choice that they make, we want them to be community ready and be able to be positive contributors to the Quad Cities. And so the more opportunities that we have for them, I think that increases our chances. I think that our students are our future, and they have amazing talents. And I think that the Quad Cities is blessed to have such an amazing population of young people. We see there are opportunities where the community may not understand them and may not always be able to connect to them or to relate to them, but they are fantastic. And I believe fully in their success, and I believe fully in their development and their ability to become strong, just contributing members to our society.
I'd like to draw your attention to the City of Moline's website. On that website is a wonderful tool that offers transparency of how the city is investing your tax dollars. It breaks it down by what we have budgeted and what we have spent year to date, comparing it not only to the budget, but to our expenditures of the previous year. Whether your interest is big picture or your interest is drilling down into the details of it, it's all there for you to see. It is very important that you understand how your tax dollars are being invested. Your perspective and your priorities are what the council needs to best guide us in the way that we set policy. It is helpful to us to understand where you think your money should be spent so that we're making policies that align with your interests. One of the challenges before us is how do we balance the services and the resources? You know, what makes sense for our community? We can be creative and we can be thoughtful about the way that we have historically provided those services and introduce some innovation on how we can do it better. I'm committed to living within our financial resources that we have today. This isn't a time that we should be increasing tax rates for our real estate or our sales tax. We're not going to do anything that is gonna burden our residents or burden our small businesses and cause them to struggle in this recovery any more than they're already challenged to do. I'm confident in this council and I'm confident in this staff team that we're going to be able to meet our community's expectations and take this opportunity to demonstrate to you, the taxpayers of this community, that we care about every dollar that you earn and we understand what you're going through. And it's important to us all to come together as a team to navigate this recovery. I'd now like to introduce Carol Barnes. She is the Director of Finance for the City of Moline. She's going to share with you today some of the details of what's going on with the City of Moline financially, looking at not only our reserves, but projected revenues and how we're going to all make it work.
Everyone across the board is seeing a delayed revenue stream, and for Moline, we anticipate that reduction in revenues could be between $8 and $10 million. Fortunately, the city has strategically, they are in a very good place because we have strong fund balances to help kind of carry the load for the time being, and that gives us a little bit of time for the council to strategically decide what direction to go in the future. part of when we continue to look at projections, we not only look at the colleagues that are from surrounding cities, but we have to look at the state of Illinois because they have some very unique revenue streams and how they are allocated back to our particular city. So as the comptroller gives out new trends or things that are happening, like in our motor fuel tax, if people are traveling or they're not traveling, that impacts the city's revenue, and it can be very unique for the state of Illinois. One thing that is very fortunate for Moline, and I know the mayor and council have worked very hard for this, is to have a very diversified revenue stream. Currently, the city has about 15 different major revenue streams that make up 60% of the total revenue streams throughout the city. So if one particular revenue stream comes in a little slow one year or coming under budget, the other revenues are usually pretty solid and can carry that load. Currently, the city of Moline, this last year when we adopted the budget, we have $15.9 million of total property taxes. And our levy rate is $2.05 per $100 of equalized value. As far as total tax dollars are concerned, 100% of them go towards the police and fire pension funds as well as supporting our parks and library funds. There are no property taxes that are supporting the general operating funds of the city. The projections on the revenues are probably the most difficult thing to project. So we've tried to compile just the best information we can from everywhere, but of course the state of Moline is also unique in itself. So we truly have to look at what's happening in Illinois. So we also look at the trends that the comptroller is sending out for us to use. And the interesting thing is they send out the trends and then within another 2 or 3 weeks, they've changed the trends. So it's going to be just a continued monitoring, making sure we're kind of in check with other municipalities if they're hearing something differently than what we are. And it's going to continue to be a fluid document throughout the remainder of the year. We're going to just do our very, very best to constantly monitor the current situation. But I don't anticipate revenues to come back just 100% coming into next year. So I think we need to be very conservative as we put the budget together and have very conservative spending at the council's direction.
The city of Moline is already blessed with a diverse base of different businesses, different amenities. We have the beautiful Tax Slayer Center, but on the horizon is an amazing new bridge. That investment in the Quad Cities and specifically in Moline is going to be impactful to us moving forward. When that bridge is done, the old bridge comes down. When the old bridge comes down, it vacates about 12 acres of property in the downtown Moline footprint. That gives us an opportunity to reinvent that front porch of Moline. We're working hard to bring in other perspectives, experts across the nation to guide us in how we can finance that redevelopment, what the priorities of that redevelopment need to be, and also where do we need to invest our money to make sure that we have the right anchors throughout that area, that the other development organically happens. It's not only those 12 acres, it's an additional 13 acres around it. So we're talking about a footprint of 25 acres, which is it's just an extraordinary thing for our community to have the opportunity to reinvent. Now I'd like to introduce Dirk Price. He is a partner of Ansel Glink, who is our Moline Corporate Counsel. Dirk has been a crucial resource to the city of Moline as we have navigated new challenges and also addressed some opportunities that we had not identified in the past. So I'd like for you to welcome Dirk Price. He's going to share with us some of the strategies that he is using to help us make Moline stronger.
As part of neighborhood stabilization, Moline had the I-74 Bridge Loan Program to help the businesses who are bearing an unusual share of the burden of the bridge to get assistance from the city of Moline. We revamped that loan program so that more businesses could benefit more quickly. That became a model for other communities across the state. They watched what we did here. We used some of the same approaches with those communities so that they could help their small businesses. So in that way, Moline helped other communities that Ansel Link works with. Among the review processes we engaged in was to look at the tax increment financing development agreements. Those are ones funded by the property tax revenues generated by the new development. We wanted to make sure that we were getting paid and that we were also paying what we were obligated to do. In addition to the tax increment financing, we're bringing other tools to bear to prompt development. An exciting area where this is going to happen is around the bridge when it opens. The Urban Land Institute has been brought on board by the city. They're going to help Moline capitalize on what it's already done, acquiring properties, the planning of walkability trails, how to bring people downtown and get them around downtown. So when the bridge opens, you'll be perfectly primed for development to take off. We're putting in place the development opportunities, one of which is a memorandum of understanding with the Illinois Department of Transportation. That's unique to Moline. That was very forward thinking. We're working on an amendment to that right now to continue it, to expand upon it, because we've realized there are new opportunities for both IDOT and the city of Moline. The next wave of development agreements are going to focus on the downtown area around the bridge. We're already working to assemble properties, walking paths, the running paths, how we bring people downtown to use those businesses. Together with the bridge loan program, we think that and the acquisition of some properties that the city's gone out and done already, we think that's going to be an exciting development opportunity right around the bridge. Can't wait for that to open. But that doesn't mean we've ignored the rest of town. We've got development agreements that are percolating on the south end of town, and in those we're going to keep the same kind of accountability that we've had, but we're going to try and streamline it. The old adage is, I can write you a contract that's bulletproof and you're well protected, but nobody will want to enter into it with you. We need to be partners with our development community where we have the risks managed, they're accountable to us, we're accountable to them, and we can do that in a more simplified way. Looking ahead, Moline's no different than the other communities in the state of Illinois. We're all facing extraordinary challenges, but it's an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, and that's what Moline is doing now. The staff is looking hard at how they deliver services and are there new ways, more efficient ways to deliver those same services. It's also forced Moline, just like every other community, to prioritize what is it that's essential and core to deliver. It's a good leadership group, it's a good council that's active and involved. Between them, they're communicating well. We're offering the tools that we know are available so that together everybody can move forward to do the best they can in these very trying times. What Moline's plans were even just 6 months ago are going to be very different from what they are now going forward. But there are opportunities that are inevitably going to assist Moline, and that one of them is the bridge. It continues to be built. It will be open, and that's going to spur a rebirth of downtown, we think, and we're ready for that.
Along the same avenue of the bridge loan program, we developed the COVID-19 loan program. The city council and city staff joined together to redefine that loan program to better accommodate the needs of what was happening with the COVID-19 stay-in-place order. So what we did was we restricted the cap of the loan to $5,000. It's a 1% interest rate, and it has a 5-year term. It was urgent that we got that money quickly into our business owners' hands. Within 3 weeks, we had 30 loans distributed out into our community. It is a lot to ask of our businesses at this time. So we wanted to come along beside them and help them navigate that complexity. We partnered with a software developer, Live Stories, and our neighboring communities to develop a platform that would help our business owners navigate that challenge. The platform is designed to take the basic profile of each one of the companies and match them up to the resources that they qualify for and they can use. Those resources will include loans, grants, and programs that will help them cash flow their businesses. So there are several programs out at the different levels that they can delay payments. They can delay payments of their utilities. They can delay payments of their sales tax. And so it helps them understand what is available that meets their needs. The platform also links them to the application process for each one of those resources. The Forward platform is a representation of the way that we need to innovate to address these challenges that are unique and new in this environment. And I think it's an excellent representation of how the city of Moline is partnering with not only its residents, but with its small businesses to navigate all of these challenges ahead of us. We are entering a radically different time in our financial situation. I think it is expected that this situation is not only going to impact our private businesses, but it's going to impact our public organizations. You know, this city council is committed to making this work. We're going to figure out how to provide the services at the level that you expect within the means that are available to us. We aren't going to do the simple fix of pushing that financial burden onto our community that is already dealing with financial burden. We don't know when this is going to be over, and we don't know what it's going to be like when it gets done. But we do know that you have dedicated elected officials and staff working in your city to make sure that the high expectations that you have for those services that you need are going to be met. We're going to do it in a way that makes sense. We're going to do it in a way that protects you and us financially. I think there are some things that we've taken for granted and that we're going to miss. They're going to be different. But I think there's other things that are going to be new, and we're going to wonder, why didn't we do this a long time ago? It's going to be a mixed bag for us. But I am filled with hope because we're navigating this together. I want to thank you for taking your time to learn more about what's going on at the City of Moline, and I also want you to stay safe. Thank you, Moline.